Jim.
Despite the fact that the unaccompanied minors who are coming across and the minors who are coming across with their mothers are not eligible for DACA, there are those who are in the Republican Party who are calling upon the president to rescind DACA as a message. Would that work? Does the administration believe if the president said, all right, no more DACA, that the flow would stop?
Well, I think it's far-fetched to think that that's that would be a viable solution.
Governor of Texas, Governor Perry, is testifying today before a Homeland Security committee for Congress, which is meeting in Texas today. He has criticized the president for he says, bad diplomacy, for speeches and for a general outlook to people down there in Central America that just says, come, even though, and he believes that if the president were to rescind DACA, that would send a message that that's not the case. What does the administration think about rescinding the DREAM Act?
That's not going to happen. The truth is, it's hard to take seriously Governor Perry's concerns when everybody who's taken a look at this understands that if we wanted to send a clear signal about our seriousness of purpose when it comes to addressing some of the problems in our immigration system, that the easiest way to do that is to pass the common sense immigration reform proposal that already has passed through the Senate with bipartisan support.
But what I'm not hearing, though, Josh, and I'm sure you have an answer for this, is why not send a message that the Republicans say the DREAM Act sends a message to people in Central America, come because eventually you can become a citizen here, and that we are, even though the law doesn't apply to them, that it sends a message. You don't believe that? Do you disagree with that?
I don't buy that. I think that there may be some who think that there's a coded message in all of that, but the President of the United States, in an interview with your network just last week, sent a very clear, transparent, unmistakable message that parents should not put their children in the hands of criminals to transport them to the southwest border with the expectation that they'll be welcomed into the country. They won't. Okay. Chuck?
How about having the president unequivocally, you were somewhat, it sounded at first ambiguous, and then you were saying that eventually the Homeland Security Secretary, Jay Johnson, is making it clear that these children will not be able to stay. They're going to get deported. It'll take time. The system will take time. They're going to be deported. The President of the United States is the loudest voice in this country. Obviously, this message needs to get to Honduras, to Guatemala, and to these places. Why not have the President unequivocally sit in front of a camera and say, look, these kids are going to get deported. Don't do this. This is dangerous. They're not going to be able to stay here. Whatever anybody's telling you, it's not true, and maybe only the president can send that message.
Well, Chuck, I think the president was pretty direct when he made comments to George Stephanopoulos at ABC when he was asked specifically about this, enforcing the law.
Last one, I want to go back to the Texas trip related to immigration. The president keeps saying publicly he wants to get out of the White House bubble. Okay, so here's his chance, and as you said, he's going to meet with some real folks, and he's going to talk to them about the economy. He's also going to raise money for the Democratic Party. And he's going to pass up an opportunity to get an up-close look himself, get out of the bubble, and look at what he's called a humanitarian crisis. How do you defend that?
I defend that by describing to you that there are a whole range of senior officials in this administration over the course of the last 3 or 4 weeks who have spent a lot of time in the southwest border.
And you'll send the FEMA director, all these people, but then the president himself goes there, and he meets with the families, he holds their hands, he talks to them, he tries to get a sense. Why can't he do that this time?
The president has a very good sense of what's happening on the border. He's getting regular updates from his officials who've traveled to that region. They're focused on solving this problem, and what the president wants is he wants regular reports about what they're seeing on the border and how resources that are being devoted to processing those who have appeared at the border are being used to
the reason why people are asking for him to go to the border is because of tangible, for him to see, for him to feel. But is he at least getting visuals from these persons who are giving updates? Is he getting the visuals in the sit room, live visuals or something about the border.
I
There is
disagree,
concern.
at least in part, with the premise of your question. I think the reason that some people are suggesting the president should go to the border when he's in Texas, is because they'd rather play politics than actually try to address some of these challenges. But for those who have purer motives in terms of asking this question, like you, I would just tell you that the president is comfortable with the very granular information that he's received about conditions on the border and about what the federal government is doing to meet these challenges.
Just as an aside, your answer to April about the president not going to the border because it would be political. Since when is it not political that he goes and visits with an average American to show empathy?
What I'm suggesting is those who are criticizing the president for not going to the border, that at least many of them, if not all of them, are playing politics and not really focused on solving the problem. If they were committed to solving the problem, for example, in the case of the Texas governor, he could probably be pretty useful. I hear he's a pretty persuasive fellow. That he could pick up the phone and call some of those Republican members of Congress from Texas who are standing foursquare against common sense immigration reform. That if the governor were genuinely concerned about solving so many of these problems that exist on the border, the most impactful thing that he could do right now is encourage those Republican members of the House of Representatives to stop blocking common sense legislation from coming to the floor of the House of Representatives.
Which doesn't have